Hello, and welcome to another episode of Beats, Beards, and Beers. On this episode, we're going to find the best beers and breweries in the USA. So please join me on this adventure. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Beats, Beards, and Beers. And today, it's another tasting paddle episode. And what does that mean? So our tasting paddle episodes are when we go and explore a city and try a whole bunch of breweries in that city. But of course, we can't taste them all. So just like when you grab a tasting paddle, it's just a taster for those people who are going to visit the city and want to have a few beers. So today, we're off to San Francisco for a taste of hoppy goodness in the city of free love. We're going to be visiting the Woods Beer and Wine Co., Otherwise Brewing, Black Hammer Brewing Company, Fort Point Beer Co. in Valencia, the Magnolia Brewing Company on Haight Street. So I'll be giving you a bit of an overview of each brewery and then rating the beers and the vibe of the place to give a total score out of 10. So first up, we're off to Woods Cerveceria, a little place tucked away in the Mission District of San Francisco, just off Dolores Park. Now they have a few interesting ingredients that they like to use there, including yerba mate, and they also have some house-made wines. In terms of their range on tap, they're mainly focused on your lighter side, with no big stouts or porters, but still a good range with some interesting things on the list. So in terms of the beer, I tried the Sonoma Blend Dry Cider, which I gave 3.5 hairy heads, the Freeze Pop Pale Ale, which I gave 3.75 hairy heads, the Mate Verzea, if that's how you say it, IPA, which I gave 3.5 hairy heads, the Great Highway IPA at 3.5 hairy heads, and the highlight for me was the Local Honey, which was a herbal ale. A really different beer, ultra herbally tasting, sweet and floral and honey-ish. The friend I was with said it tasted a bit like quiche, which is a bit weird. Very different, but I liked it and I gave it 4 hairy heads. So that gives an average beer score of 3.65. In terms of the vibe, a nice, pleasant place, comfy, clean, lots of natural light, and a great place to watch people. Because of its size, you're probably not going to settle in for a big session, but it's a great spot to call into for a few beers. So I'll give the vibe 4. So that gives an overall score of 7.65. So next we're up to Otherwise Brewing. And this one was ultra special because we took a driverless cab there, so that was a bit of an adventure. But anyway, Otherwise Brewing, pretty cool little spot. And what was really unique for them is all of their beers are gluten-free. So that's awesome for those celiacs out there. In terms of their beer range, a really good all-rounder. Not crazily extensive, but a good range from lagers, ales, sours, and porters. So while I was there, I had the Guava Fresher Sour Ale, which I gave 3.75 hairy heads. The I Fucking Love Science, a juicy IPA, which I gave 4 hairy heads. But the highlight for me was the 30,000 Feet Hazy IPA, really hazy, big tropical pineapple and passion fruit notes, which I gave 4.25 hairy heads. That gives a total beer score of 4. So in terms of the vibe, a cool place with lots of character, felt like that right mix of funkiness and homeliness and comfiness. So I gave it 4.5. That gives a total score of 8.5. So next, we're off to Black Hammer Brewing, the Willkommen venue. So this is a venue that is near the Castro district, in a light and breezy open space, lots of taps, and in the food department, they really focus on the wurst, or the sausage. In terms of the tap list, a really good range covering everything that you need, including quite a few interesting beers. So let's have a taste. So hey everyone, we're here at Willkommen, which is one of the outlets for Black Hammer beers. Got myself a tasting paddle. Looks like a pretty cool venue. Going to start it off with a Cuddle Puddle, which is a hazy IPA, 6.7%. So let's give that a taste. Tasty beer, mango, a bit of mango, tropical fruits, nice, hazy, tasty. I'm gonna give that one, it's probably a 3.75 hairy heads on that one. So yeah, nice beer, and looking forward to getting into my my next beers. Where I've got the Norse Code, the Block Party, and the Whack and Unwrap. So yeah, let's see how they go a bit later. Cheers! In terms of the other beers, I had the Pale Blue Dot, a blueberry sorbet sour, which I gave 4 hairy heads. The Sparkle Pony, a Belgian blonde ale, which I gave 4 hairy heads. The Norse Code, which they're calling a Nordic IPA, which I gave 3.5 hairy heads. The Whack and Unwrap, dark chocolate orange imperial stout, which I gave 3.5 hairy heads. A little bit disappointing for me because I normally love those types of things. But the highlight for me was the Bock Party, a Doppelbock, sitting at 8.4%. Tasty dark lager, malty, toffee, rich and full-bodied, which I gave 4.25 hairy heads. That gives an average beer score of 3.83. So in terms of the vibe, cool, funky, airy and bright space. A great spot to watch the world go by. Could see myself hanging out there for a big afternoon sesh or just a quick few beers. So I'm going to give that 4.5. That gives an overall score of 8.33. So next, we're off to the Fort Point Brewery, the Valencia venue, right in the heart of the Mission District. Has much more of a laid-back, cafe, trendy vibe than your normal brewery, and they normally focus on the more lighter styles of your beers, trying to find something that's very drinkable for everyone. The beer range is pretty much straight down the line, on the lighter, easy drinking side with IPAs, lagers and ciders. No big stouts on their range, but quite a few guest taps, which introduced a bit more variety. Unfortunately, I only stopped in for one beer, so I had to go for the most distinct thing on their core range, which was the Villager, which is meant to be a San Francisco style IPA, where they were aiming to capture the diversity of the city. And I gave it 4 hairy heads. In terms of the vibe, a very clean cafe style vibe, not what you would say, which was a standard craft beer hangout, but some pretty cool weirdness going on in the toilets. Let's check that out.
The reptilian ancestors of the mammals must have been similarly widespread. But towards the end of the dinosaurs' reign, this great land split into 2. The northern half, called Eurasia, contained today's Europe, Asia, and North America. The southern, named Gondwana, would eventually fragment into South America, Africa, Antarctica, and Australia.
So you gotta love a bit of David Attenborough talking dinosaurs while you're doing your business. Anyway, so that all adds to the vibe. So with a beer rating of 4, which isn't really fair to base on one single beer, but anyway, I'll give the vibe a 3.5, gives a total score of 7.5. And last up, we're off to Magnolia Brewing, right in the center of the Haight-Ashbury district. So you can imagine really loving that hippie vibe, surrounded by vintage shops and yeah, some of that old wacky tobacco. But anyway, in an old building with a lot of historic character, you can imagine it's seen a lot in its day. So unfortunately, when we were there was a sign up that said that their brewery is actually out of action at the time. Really disappointing, but unfortunately these things happen. I've since gone and had a look on their website and it's up and running, and it looks like they've got some pretty cool beers there with the names of their beer really reflecting the area that they're in, like the Electric Lady or the Citradelic Trip. But anyway, on their beer list when we were there was all guest taps. So they had a good range there, and I'm hoping that would reflect what is in their normal everyday sort of style that they produce there. So while I was there, I had the Ghost Town Wet Hop Hazy IPA from Barrel House Brewing, which I gave 3.5 hairy heads, and the Brew Free or Die from 21st Amendment Brewery, which I gave 3.75 hairy heads. And as I said, I can only assume that their own beers would be similar sort of styles. I know it's not really fair, but anyway, that gives an average beer score of 3.6. In terms of the vibe, well, just a cool part of town in a building with historic character. A pretty small spot and good for sinking a few brews or checking out the old home of psychedelia and free love. So I'll give that 3.75, which gives an overall score of 7.35. So if I reflect on all the great places I visited while in San Francisco, the standout for me is Otherwise Brewing, closely followed by the Black Hammer Willkommen venue. So why did Otherwise stand out? It just had that right mix of funkiness, but also that nice, cozy, warm, homely sort of feeling. Plus, absolutely blew me away that all of their beers were gluten-free, but still packed a heap of flavour. So anyway, that was my favourite. So please put in some comments, let me know if I've missed any of the great breweries that you love in San Francisco. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.